Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What's going on, you crazies? There's football on, and for some reason, you're streaming me. Look, I'm going to be very real with you. For anybody who's catching this VOD after the fact, thank you for checking this out. If you've never been to one of these streams before, welcome in. We like to break down film, especially film of the Chicago Bears. But right now, especially with Hard Knocks being where it was, this is the ultimate. I had to get a stream out, and there wasn't really a great option here. On Saturday, I'm out. On Friday, there's a ball game. On Thursday, there's a ball game. On Sunday, there's the ball game. So this is what we got. It's not going to be all that long. We're going to talk through some Titans film. Specifically, we're going to watch Will Levis. We're going to watch a little bit of the Bengals offense, and we're going to call it an evening. All while we take a look at Kansas City. I think likely finishing out their win over Baltimore. If Baltimore can pull this out, very happy for them. Bear down, Bearski. How you doing? Alex, I would be shocked if Hopkins doesn't play Sunday. Rock, I'm excited for big dog Andrew Billings and like what we're going to see from him. A glitch, I'll catch you sometime later. Oh, there we go. Big play from the Ravens. Adrian, I got to tell you, I'm really, I don't know. Like, we'll take a look. Let's see. Because I see Reinhardt and I see Adrian's message, and I do want to address those real fast. Reinhardt mentions that the Titans don't particularly scare him. Adrian mentions the exact opposite, that he thinks that we're in trouble with Matt Eberflus as a head coach, and this Titans defense looks awfully nasty. I'll tell you that when I look at this Titans team, look, this is my general opinion, and then let's dig into some tape. But when I'm looking at this Titans team personally, I see a team with a whole lot of name recognition and a whole lot less, a lot of name recognition. Some players, definitely, but not a dominant force. This feels like a requisite NFL team. And like you're saying, Alex, weapons matter a lot. Chris Jones is a beast, having the ability to get guys open, which is big time. And then Rock, you mentioned that the Titans. So Rock mentions that the Titans have a great offensive mind and the best O-line coach in the league. So I agree with you, but on offensive line, I think that coaching can only do so much. The Bears have learned this, I like to think, with Juan Castillo and Harry Hiestand over the years, and they've got some serious talent in rookie J.C. Latham, in Peter Skoronski, and in big free agent Lloyd Cushenberry. But the right side of the offensive line, and in particular that matchup with Montez Sweat and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, I would feel very good about that if I was the Chicago Bears. Not to mention, I really like the matchup between the Titans receivers and the Bears corners. I think that neither Ridley nor Hopkins is outrageously fast. Neither is Tyler Boyd, frankly, all of them in the 29, 30, 31 years of age. And Stevenson and Jalen Johnson are two corners that like to brawl. So physicality wise, I think it's a tough matchup for Tennessee. Look, we'll see. But I'm attempting to be as down the middle as I can be. And I would be a lot more worried if the Bears were going up against some receivers that could run a little bit. Let me use an example. The Packers receivers, who are very agile and quite quick, those are the kinds of guys that I think are potentially able to really batter this defense. But big guys that want to catch the football in traffic, that fits the way the Bears like to play defense. I thought so too, Damo. That would have been sick. And so I'm not about to tell you that I think for sure anything is certain. I mean, y'all, this is week 1. 2 teams enter, both with a lot of hope. One team leaves with hope remaining. The other team leaves with hope crushed. So I don't want to pretend that any of these conclusions are rock solid. I just look at this Titans team, and let me put it this way, guys. I think that there's 2 schools of thought in Bears world right now. Okay. I have seen people that want to act like the Titans are a very, 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 very good football team and that the Bears are deeply unlucky to run into them. I have seen a whole bunch of people talk like the Titans absolutely suck, and if the Bears don't blow them out, they'll be blown away. And let me try to hit you with something that's a little more in the middle. The Titans have a lot of good ball players, but when I look at their team, I see way too much new for it to congeal quickly in week 1. I see Will Levis, who as we'll see, is a quarterback that I think has work to do in the drop back pass game, but we have an offensive mind in Brian Callahan that I think likes to throw the football. So you're going to be asking an erratic potential second year player to throw, believe it or not, Kaiser, yeah, there are a lot of people that are, think about it as simple as this, Kaiser. People are swinging the other way from trying to act like the Titans are nothing, right? I'm with you, Quentin. I see them as a mystery box team, and most importantly, when I've looked at most mystery box teams in the past, very few of them start perfectly. I mean, we're talking about a brand new defense that's not played real snaps together. We're talking about a brand new offense, for the most part, that also hasn't played real snaps together, especially under the call of Brian Callahan, who, have we forgotten, has never called plays before. So I see so many question marks when I look at this Titans organization that, to be honest, it's funny, right? If I was going to simplify this for you, I think that we have there's four major units in football. Not counting special teams, not hating on special teams, but you get it. There's Titans offense, Titans defense, Bears offense, Bears defense. Bears offense is new. Titans offense is new. Titans defense is new. The only unit that's stable in this case is the Bears defense, who ended last year on a heater. Does that mean that they're going to start this year on a heater? No, but it does mean that when I look at the Bears defense, I see a good matchup for Montez Sweat and Nicholas Petit-Frere. I see good matchups across the receiving core. I like Kyler Gordon versus Tyler Boyd. I don't love it because you've got a size problem, but Kyler should be able to give him trouble in space, and especially against more zone-oriented routes. I like the linebackers against Will Levis because I do think that quarterbacks are trying to work over the middle, and it's the linebackers that are going to try to frustrate you. Reinhard, did you mention the Bears safety is going to be an issue? Because I agree with you. I don't think the Bears safeties are perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but the more Bears tape I watch, the more I tend to see Jaquan Brisker playing it well enough in the box to make his spot worth it. And it's funny you mentioned that, man, Reinhardt. When I've watched Kevin Byard in zone, I think he does a solid job. I mean, there's only so much center field tape of him out there, so I guess I don't know exactly how he operates compared to Eddie Jackson, but I remember when we watched it, I thought he looked solid in zone, and frankly, if anything, had lost a step in man. But me disagreeing with scouts, I mean, that happens sometimes. Scouts are very hit and miss, I feel like. You talk to one scout and he's going to tell you that, gosh, Caleb Williams can't play. And then you talk to another scout and he's going to break out the G word. So it does feel funny when you dredge up those scouting articles. Not that I'm trying to tell you not to at least take Dan Pompei's scouts as a grain of salt, more that which scouts are you talking to? Are you talking to the Greg Gabriel types that see the game completely differently from younger scouts? Are you talking to young scouts with a whole lot of bravado that see it this way or that way? Dude, I truly, Reinhardt, don't know. Because it's always anonymous. And so I can't help but just shrug my shoulders and say, we're just gonna have to wait and see, because Byard, to me, in a Titans uniform, looked like he could play zone fine. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not disappointed, or that I'm not disappointed that the Bears don't still have a Eddie Jackson that's also playing well, right? But Eddie had lost a step last year. Even I thought it was about time to move on. It made sense. And I don't know if Byard's this massive upgrade, but I tend to think it's a push compared to where the Bears were last year. That's my take, because Eddie was not giving him a ton. And so, yeah, safety is definitely going to be a problem. But the other thing, Reinhardt, that I'm going to throw at you, and Reinhardt, I'm specifically talking to you because I think this is interesting. Reinhardt, can you name me an offense or a team? I'll challenge Quentin. I'll challenge Rock. I'll challenge Bearski. I'll challenge Kaiser, Alex, Alessandro, anybody in this chat. Can you name me a team or an offense that you have watched walk into an NFL game and properly victimize the safety room? Because one thing that's happened over the last 3 full years of football that I have seen, Green Bay walks into nearly every season with a massive problem at safety. And to say that it's done and dusted, that they're good at safety now, is hilarious. Green Bay safeties have struggled for as long as certainly they were in a Joe Barry scheme. And for some reason, teams couldn't victimize them. Why? I think it's because it's harder to do that than meets the eye. You have to go 5 wide just to get a safety in one-on-one responsibility. And then if they drop out of it and they rotate to something else, then all of a sudden you didn't get the safety matchup you wanted anyways. So it's not to say, Reinhardt, that the Bears safeties aren't going to potentially create problems down the line. It's to say, if your corners and your linebackers are that first thick line of defense against the pass, then your safeties are definitely, like, they could be potential problems, but at least you've got the short stuff covered because you're able to crunch them a little bit, right? And then it doesn't hurt, Alex, that, like you're talking about, the best they're probably going to get for or like to taking the top off, at least with their starting three wide receivers, would probably just be a deep bomb to DeAndre Hopkins. And then it's a matter of whether or not Tyreek Stevenson learned from his early tangles with Mike Evans, or whether there's still more room to grow. So we'll see. But I want to take a quick look at both players. I actually really love talking about this game because I do think, for what it's worth, you kind of got to go into it ready to get hurt again. I'm very interested to see what this Bears team is, right? But the big thing that I find myself looking at, I don't know about you guys, is I can't help but think that this game comes down to Bears defense versus Will Levis. I mean, I would love to simplistically say something like, "Oh, Caleb's going to do blank." I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to do. I wouldn't surprise me if Caleb Williams is going to hit some haymakers and he's going to take some nasty sacks. I think that you're going to get about as much as you give with Caleb Williams. Rookies in their first NFL start rarely do phenomenally. So I think expecting 300 yards or something like that is way, way over expectation. I would love it, but I just doubt it. It's something to get excited about, but I wouldn't go betting on it. The big question to me is, can the Bears keep the Titans about 17 points or less? And if possible, can they turn them over a couple times? If you can do that, I think this game swings in Chicago's favor pretty heavily because, but like you're saying, Reinhardt, you mentioned Chris Conte. Even Chris Conte got victimized 3 to 4 times a game. So you're talking about a couple explosives. And you're totally right that the way that they played defense, Conte got given away. But you're really having to pull back, aren't you? Like, I'm thinking, Reinhardt, about all the different teams. And also, what was it, Joe? Yeah, when Chris Conte was playing. I'm thinking about all the different teams that we've seen that we walked into the game saying their safeties are not very good. And then they went the entire game without getting popped from, or like, at the safety spot. And I'm saying that because on 2nd and 7, it's hard to just call double posts, or at least most offenses won't do it if you don't have some kind of rhythm to keep you out of those 3rd and longs and stay not necessarily ahead of the chains, but at least try to stay efficient. It's tougher to attack a safety. Safeties are part of a defense. Joe mentions a good safety makes a difference, a bad safety doesn't. I agree with you, JK. Another thing that I would point out, JK, because I'm right there with you, is I think corners are on an island and safeties rarely are. So if you're playing any defensive scheme that helps your safeties, whether that's rotation-oriented schemes, basically just staying on a man, right? Then the fact that your safety's assignment is unknown implicitly helps the safety be somewhat viable. It's a lot less common than meets the eye for Jaquan Brisker to drop back into too high and for a quarterback to just eyeball him and say, that guy can't play here. Or like, he can't play in too high, and just rip the ball into the hole. It'll happen. But then when you're shifting Jaquan Brisker around, I can't speak to this being perfectly true, but I believe with every bone in my body that the reason that Brisker had, what do you guys think, 4, 5 chances at interceptions last year in that lurk spot in the middle of the defense is purely because he rotated into the flat so often that when Brisker started his rotation and stopped and sat in that lurk spot, offenses had no idea he would be there. But anyways, I'm by no means trying to tell you. I don't know, guys. This is last thing I'll say before we get into the tape. And I'll be honest, part of it is me watching the game. We're all watching the game, right? But also, it's a tough game to project. Because when you look at ESPN's analysis of positions, when you look at PFF's analysis of positions, most people, I believe, not on accident, have the Bears as generally better than these Tennessee Titans. I mean, I feel like these Tennessee Titans, when you look top to bottom at who's on their roster, you know a lot of the names, and almost all of them come with a big if, right? DeAndre Hopkins is dangerous if he can still move pretty well. Calvin Ridley is dangerous if he can separate a little better than he did. Tony Pollard is dangerous if his leg has fully healed. Will Levis can play if he's got eyes open downfield. Then what is it? We could keep going. It is L'Jarius Sneed is dangerous if he's going to adapt to this Tennessee scheme the same way that he did to to Steve Spagnuolo's scheme, which is a massive if. The corner across from them, he's played some good ball, but last year was not very good. The safety, there's got to be a safety that replaces Kevin Byard in Tennessee's defense. Jeffrey Simmons is a dog. Harold Landry and Arden Key are both good. I think those three are legit very good, right? I mean, I'm not going to spit in the eye of the defensive line at all. They do have a rookie in Tavondre Sweat, who I like, but it's not as if the defensive line is a question. That's an advantage for them. I just can't help but looking at the rest of this Titans team, and I see enough question marks that I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. I don't know. It's any given Sunday. These are good football players. There's no such thing, I think, as a lock win, especially not with a rookie quarterback. Anything could happen. We haven't seen the Waldron plan. We just know that there's weapons and the talent, in theory, should rise enough that the Bears are able to score some points. I just can't help but look at this Titans team and see a team that is way better on paper because you recognize their names than they are good at football. I feel like it's a lot of people that are on the backside of their career. So how much is the fire still burning for each of them? Is DeAndre Hopkins still D-Hop, or was he D-Hop like AJ Green was for a minute? Does Calvin Ridley still got it, or is he the guy who used to be Calvin Ridley, right? You follow? And I'm with you, Bearski, where you mentioned they've got two good corners, but you also have to remember, Bearski, that corners fall off very quickly once they reach a certain age. And if memory serves, truly, you tell me, guys, I remember both the Titans corners pretty old. L'Jarius Sneed in particular is, how much time does he have? Here, I'll flip it to the NFL stream right here, and then let me look this up as we go. Now discussing needs updating, so let me get that done. Let's see. We're going to go with our lads Titans. Playing with an MCL tear is insane, dude. That's wild to me. But so Chidobe Awuzie is 29, and then is Sneed 27? Let's see here. He is over here. Yeah. And so he's 27 circa January. So I think Sneed's probably got plenty of good ball left in him. Let's not make this a meal, right? Let's not take a decent point and then run away with it. But you start to hit this 30 point for Chidobe Awuzie, and you start to decline. And I know last year, I don't know what his accolades were, but per PFF, he did not have a very good season. And when we watched Kevin Byard's tape, it's not like I looked at number 13 and said, whoa, this guy's balling. And so I'm by no means trying to tell you, I don't know, what how to think and how to feel, right? I get in this tough spot where I don't want to gas things up too much, despite the fact that I look at the Titans and I see a hodgepodge team where if you have questions about the Bears, then you should have more questions about the Titans. Somebody tell me I'm crazy in that. What about the Titans is so stabilizing that the Bears aren't the better team in that case? The Titans have a lot of fun weapons on offense. The Bears have two receivers that just caught 1,200 yards and a top 10 overall pick, plus a solid core of tight ends. And I'm actually leading with Schmitz on that. And while they don't have stars at offensive line, that's the weakness. At least they've got the number 1 overall pick in the most recent draft, who was widely regarded as very good. You don't have to take my word for it. I think Caleb's good, but then on the other side of the ball, from a pedigree perspective, you're talking about a free agent, a different free agent if memory serves, with D-Hop. And you've got Traylon Burks, if he's still on the roster. I literally can't remember if he is. Here, I was just looking at the roster. Do we still have Traylon Burks there? Let's see, we got Hopkins. Yeah, Burks is still there. He's considered second string. So we've got free agent. And then on tight end, are we playing Chigakonkwo? He's solid. I actually like him. But then on the other side of this, Radins can play a little at right guard, and Ferrer is not. I don't want to pretend these guys are awful, but the right side of the offensive line is not good, especially compared to the left side of their offensive line, which has tons of talent. Even though I feel like I feel like us Bears fans, for those of you who are Bears fans, are so hurt by the way that week 1 openers have gone that we're just casually letting go of the fact that week 1 rookies, especially on offensive line, tend to not play all that well. Does that mean that J.C. Latham is by definition going to have a tough game? I don't know, but to pretend that J.C. Latham on Sunday is the J.C. Latham that we should see by the end of the year feels like a lot, don't you think? I don't know. I'm looking at this Titans team, and if you like the Titans free agent hodgepodge of wide receivers, then you should love the fact that the Bears picked up Rome in the top 10, DJ Moore via trade, and then Keenan Allen via trade, all of these being, if you call it forced acquisition. I don't know. There's this tough thing I'm seeing. Haven't you guys seen it? Where if a player makes it to market, there better be a good reason you think everybody else was wrong, because in a lot of cases, that player made it to market because they didn't have something. This is why those big winners in free agency tend to collapse. Do we remember this, right? I mean, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm on an island here. It used to be common knowledge that if you won free agency, you didn't win anything, right? And so I'm by no means trying to tell you that, because I agree with you, Alex. I think Latham is unbelievably strong. The Titans should be able to run the ball pretty well. I like Tyjae Spears. I'm not trying to tell you that I think the Titans are awful, but the Bears are at home, which helps them out in this case because they get to be a little more comfortable as they take on guys that are definitely requisite NFL players, and Jeffrey Simmons is a beast, but I'm having trouble identifying the fangs because let's say L'Jarius Sneed is a beast. Okay, throw away from him, right? Then you've still got Roger McCreary, who's in the slot. That's pretty dangerous. And then Owuzie, if he's the guy who's defining the game, I guess it depends on how well he plays. They just added this Rams linebacker, whose name I cannot remember. Has he learned the defense quickly enough? What are the Bears going to do to try to slow down this defensive line? Can they get Caleb running around on the edge like a maniac and force Jeffrey Simmons to chase him? If they do, can Caleb stay out of sack trouble? These are all questions that I cannot preview for you tonight, if that's not obvious. I could take you through Levis. We can get a decent look at the offense, but for the defense, I think it's too many component parts, and while we could guess, we might as well just wait and see what the Titans have in store with this new staff. But I don't know. I'm struggling to see. I mean, there's a reason the Bears are favored, right? The Bears are, I think, minus 3.5, and modern home field advantage is a minus 1.5. Or generally it's minus 1.5. So that means that Vegas effectively has the Bears 2 points better than the Titans, which is about how I feel. I'm not trying to tell you that the Bears should stomp the Titans. I like a lot of the matchups that the Bears have, but when you're losing the D-line, O-line matchup, specifically when they're winning defensive line over you, and your D-line is basically pushing with the talent on their defensive line or on their offensive line, then that's never a good matchup to have, or did not go in your favor. But I do think the Bears are a little better than the Titans. It's just a matter of, is Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron ready to rock? I'll catch you soon, Bearski. No problem. And so we'll just have to wait and see. I could theoretically stop the stream there, but let's go through some Levis tape because I think that we got some time. I owe you guys a stream, but I'm right there with you, JK, where it is hard. If you get your hopes up for week 1 and they come out shallow, it is crushing versus being tempered and getting let down. I am at the point, JK, where I don't want for much. To be honest, the only unit that I think this is important to say, At least it is to me, right? The only unit I'm really expecting anything from is this Bears defense. I'm not expecting them to pitch a shutout. I'm just expecting them to make life hard on the offense across from them. That offense has not played a bunch of snaps together. And so I don't know why they should roll out and smoke the Bears defense that's been sharpening their teeth against Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore all dadgum off season. And like you're saying, exactly, JK. If Will Levis comes out and he looks like the truth, then good for Will Levis, and that'll be a tough pill to swallow. But why did that happen? As a defensive head coach, we got to see Matt Eberflus make a statement. And in my opinion, this is the ideal game to make that statement. You guys tell me, look at the next 4 games, okay? Look at the next 4 games. Do you feel better about any of them in terms of the Bears matchups against the Titans versus the Bears matchups against the Titans or against the Texans, the Bears defense matchups against the Colts, the Bears defensive matchups against, that is nice, Alex, or the Bears defensive matchups against the Rams? If you ask me, this is likely to, that's funny, or Reinhardt. But so when I look at this Bears defense, they match up well enough with the Titans that if the Bears want to come out and make a statement, I really believe this is the game to do it. And obviously, that's the most sports talk radio take ever, isn't it? Oh, week 1. What a good time to make a statement. But it really feels to me like the Bears are in position to where their defense can lead and the offense can follow. And then they go and they play the Texans, and we'll see what happens. Then they go play the Colts, and we'll see what happens. And then they go play the Rams, and we'll see what happens. But JK, the crazy part to me is if they're good enough to beat the Titans, then it opens the door to an incredibly fun season. And if they're not good enough to beat the Titans, hot dang, why not? I mean, they've got a lot invested in this defense. So while they are one pass rusher shy, they at least seem to understand that and have been repping enough blitzes to where, I don't know, let's get the film review started, right? Get to the tape, Robert. I can almost hear somebody saying, man. And of course, this game's starting to pop off, right? Here's a weird one. Okay, so this is very silly, but I wonder, because I think about this a lot, whether it's going to make any difference that the Titans practice on turf, right? And then they're going to play a game on grass. So in theory, what I've always seen is that if you made a slider slower, and then this is like grass, and then turf, this is not well drawn, is generally faster. And in theory, you would think that Ridley and Hopkins and Boyd, with the way they play their games, would want every iota of speed they're able to get. So I wonder if it helps the Bears more than we realize that not only are those solid matchups, but they're playing on turf, right? Reinhardt, how am I liking new NFL Pro? I like anything that gets me the tape faster. I'm going to be honest with you, especially if it lets me go through and watch just about anything and pop it on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that I think NFL Pro is perfect, but this feels like the football app that we were always supposed to have, if that makes sense. And I appreciate it. I don't want to give the NFL any undue credit, but it's been much better as an experience for me this year than a lot of their other stuff has. And like you're mentioning, Alex, I mean, you mentioned that Brian Callahan worked under Zach Taylor, who's a McVay guy. Levis had his best year at Kentucky under Liam Cohen, who was also a McVay guy. Maybe Levis will look comfortable. 100% possible. In fact, he'll probably look pretty comfortable. But it's worth remembering that it not only is it still new, but if Levis expects the number 1 wide receiver to be open and the Bears corners make it hard, then it's going to put a lot more pressure on individual downs that I don't know if Levis is going to be able to make those work. I mean, especially if the Bears can stop the run, like these kinds of plays are going to be pretty tough. This left side of this Texans offensive line is going to be able to run block. Skoronski and Latham, if nothing else, should be dynamic run blockers for Spears or for Pollard. Here they're going to run. That's solid ball. So I bet you'll see some of this with the Bears. These rollouts are huge for just trying to create some space for young quarterbacks so that they basically can feel all the rushers around them. And bang. Pretty throw. Nothing too difficult. Levis looks comfy on the scripted drive, but he's got an arm. There's no doubt that if the Bears leave something open within their zones, I don't think Levis is going to have any problems muscling the ball there. Did you guys see the thumbnail? Levis is shredded. Like, Levis has got massive looking arms. I couldn't tell you if he's outrageously accurate, but this guy will test just about any window you give him, which I think is admirable. Way cooler than a lot of those quarterbacks that basically won't throw anything ever. But that's just a stylistic difference. Here we go, play action, and we're just gonna toss it. These are the kinds of plays that I look at, saying to myself, okay, can the Bears defense do similar things? You go play action. This Colts corner is going to just cover this. The Colts are basically dropping back into cover 3 with what looks like a nickel lock right there. 81 is locked up. There's no real window over the top right here, and Levis has nowhere to go with the football. He just throws it up and over. Maybe his guy makes a play, but he doesn't. And I'm with you, Zariah, where it's interesting, right? Because if the Bears roll out cover 2 and they get rocked, then yeah, the people are going to freak out. But you could roll out the same cover 2, and the corners, if they just play it well, are going to make it look like it's the right call, and they're going to make it look violent. I'll tell you, Zoe, I think that all that soft zone stuff that we saw last year, the more that I watched it, and this is my opinion, a lot more of it than I realized was the linebackers not being fully comfortable with the scheme. I don't know if you saw the same thing I did, Zoe, but one of the biggest things that changed right around the time the Bears added Sweat, yes, it helped that Sweat was there, but the linebackers started playmaking. And when TJ Edwards is able to take away, sometimes it's as simple as tapping down a ball on 2nd and 10 to create a 3rd and 10 that should have been 3rd and 5, right? And the more you do that, the more you push the play caller and the opposing quarterback to try to throw outside the numbers. The more you get them throwing outside the numbers, the more often they put the ball, maybe not in harm's way, but those throws are tougher outside the numbers. You got to push that ball a lot further. And so if the Bears linebackers come to camp ready to, or come to week 1, come out of camp ready to roll, I think that's going to make life pretty hard on Will Levis because it pushes the ball into an area of strength, and then you just need your corners to win their matchups. But maybe I'm too high on Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson. I'll tell you, I think plays like this are going to be a little tougher. Tony Pollard's dangerous, but they call the man the king for a reason. It is crazy looking at the burst that Derrick Henry has at what must be 250 pounds. Like that's nice. How does he get going that quick? Like, look at this body, right? Look at this massive person that just hits the burner and beats 40 in the open field. I think that's nuts. Good first drive for them. Yeah, no, we really didn't, Alex, right? The whole DC problem just manifested itself in the worst way. And I do think it's easy to look back at that Bears defense. And can I be honest with you, Alex? I don't know how much that mattered. Can you tell me that you did definitely know how much the Bears basically not getting much from Alan Williams made a difference? Because I have no idea. I assume that it made a difference because when Eberflus started calling plays, it took them a couple of weeks, but they found something that worked and they really stuck with it. But is that me being a homer? I don't know, because the Bears defense kind of pieced everybody up that they played. Starting around week 7, week 8, the Bears D got better performances out of anybody they played for almost 10 weeks in a row. I mean, even the Packers. I thought the Packers moved the ball so easily, but the Bears defense by hook or by crook allowed 17 points. And I think in the next 3 playoff games, the Cowboys scored what, or not the Cowboys, the Packers scored 55, then they scored 20 some odd against the Niners. And I guess they didn't have a game after that. But the Panthers defense, man, I can't remember. I think the Packers also scored like 30 some odd against the Packers or the Panthers. Good Lord, I can't speak. But it's more to say, y'all, I should put it this way, okay? Your boy has tried to be a hater of this Bears defense. I went into the offseason thinking they were way more likely than not to, dude, I'm going to say it right now, Alex. Xavier Worthy is a bit of a gimmick player, but he went to the offense that can use that gimmick the most. And I think that is the perfect fit. People are going to want to call him the next Tyreek Hill. I don't think anybody's Tyreek Hill because I don't think Worthy has that kind of contact balance. But if you're looking for somebody to stretch the field up the sidelines and make this thing look like you're playing Retro Bowl or like old Tecmo Bowl where you just gunged up the speed, Mahomes is the perfect quarterback and Worthy is the perfect receiver. That's easy. The safety's technically supposed to fill that hole on that last touchdown. Like, that's what's wild to me is the safety's supposed to be at the sidelines, but there's no way you're getting there. Not against him. There's no chance. And the corner's supposed to push him out of bounds, but you can't do it from that kind of alignment. That's just the right player at the right time. Man, Alex, was that run earlier a thing of beauty or what? I mean, I know it's just you and me talking at this point, but I got so football excited at that reverse where you just suddenly saw Worthy get to the second level, get to the third level. He's gone, right? And so right there with you, Zoe, where he is a Marquez Valdez-Scantling type, but he's playing with Mahomes, and so far he hasn't just dropped a gimme pass. And so long as he remains not dropping gimme passes, I think he's going to end up with a stellar rookie season. I mean, I'm not going to put a yardage total on it, but he's going to make, Alex, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the thing I'm not supposed to say, Alex, because I think it gets Bears fans too excited. When you hear me, somebody who tries to look in the camera and talk through the Bears' problems and has for years, when you hear me not giving up on Velus Jones, it's because Velus, to me, exhibits similar bursts to Worthy. Worthy looks faster. His burst is stronger, right? But when Velus touches the ball, that guy gets a step on people. And it's like, holy smokes, can we get some of that? Like, man, I don't care if it's a wide receiver reverse. I know you're right. That's because it's on my mind where speed kills. And if you can find a player that is legitimately football fast, it's like, oh man. Yeah, exactly. You saw that Velus? And so I don't know how you get him the ball because Lord knows Velus has made it tough on the Bears. But that kind of speed makes that kind of impact. You just wish you could get Velus down the sidelines and see him catch it. So far, it looks like he just dropped the ball. But so I'm going to guess under, Zoe. I think in the first week of the season, asking Velus to line up and take real carries sounds to me like a recipe for disaster. I personally would start mixing in Velus probably around week 3, week 4, if you win the Titans game. I think that Velus is a tough experiment to play with. Let's see. Velus is worthy of that comparison. I like it. I think Velus, when he touches the ball, has some burst to it. But like you're saying, Jay Sanders, I think reckless speed or speed that cannot play football is unhelpful. The good news is, at least to me, Velus, once you give him the ball, displays some natural skill. It's just been a process to put the ball in his hand because he can't catch a punt, he struggles to catch a kickoff, and he can't catch a ball more than 10 yards downfield that's not thrown straight at his face. So we'll see. Dude, Alex, I'm telling you, man, like, I love our king, number 4, Eddie Jackson, but he's not covering the hole against a guy like Worthy, he gonna be gone. But and new poster, that's the other thing, right? Like, I'm stuck on a still because you guys are bringing up great points. New poster, the Ravens have taken what, 4 illegal formation penalties already? This is week 1. These guys are not tight yet. We keep, I think, trying to make football into something where both the Titans and the Bears are going to come out and they're both going to look great. We're going to see probably about 5 blown coverages minimum between the Titans and the Bears. We're going to see some sloppy penalties. It's going to come down at some point to talent on talent. And I'm not going to tell you that I know how the game's going to end, but I think that at the end of the day, I think that it favors the Bears, but it's all going to depend on turnovers. But so, like you're saying, JK, maybe that's part of it. The Ravens didn't play many starters in the preseason. The longer this has gone on, like the preseason thing, JK, the more that I have become a believer that getting your starters a couple reps does matter in the preseason. And they've only got 2 new personnel, Spectre, but they are running a new defense. And so, or at least it's not coached by McDonald explicitly. But you got to think that the players would mostly be able to run the old stuff. I don't know. It's hard to tell. And Damo, yeah, I mean, hey, I ain't gonna pat my back. Look, Damo, I'm not gonna try to break my arm patting myself on the back, but I trust my evaluations, and at least on a lot of the top things, or at least on a lot of the big things, I like to think that I can be insightful enough to help people get a little ahead. But I don't know. I mean, this isn't me gloating. It's more saying that generally we've been middle early to Mitch, to Fields, to consistent on Velas, smart about a lot of the linemen that are and aren't going to play. We never really fell into the Leatherwood thing as much as I really tried to. I don't know. It's funny, right? There's not that many moments where you really need an evaluator to tell you what's going on. But I really try to be somebody who can at least take a look at the tape and tell you what I see, and tell you what I think coaches are thinking. But I don't know. It feels like it is, though, where right now the Ravens, at least on offensive line, you're seeing that Chiefs line flash, flash, flash. The other things, though, I'll tell you that, hey, look, it can't not have you excited, right? Right, Zoe? I've seen Mahomes get out of 4 sacks where he should have been dead to rights. Caleb has work to do in getting rid of the football under 2 seconds, but watching Mahomes get out of some of these pockets reminds me of what Caleb did in the preseason. And who knows, maybe Caleb's going to hold the ball out with one arm and it's going to get strip sacked and they're going to run it back and it's going to end up unbelievably embarrassing. Like, who knows? But watching Mahomes escape some of these sacks where he would, like any other quarterback, almost any other quarterback is dead to rights, is so exciting for what Caleb might do, because we saw a lot of that sacks where he absolutely most quarterbacks go down where it wouldn't have been bad and you would have said that's nasty on the offensive line's part. What are you going to do? A certain quarterback coach everybody loves on the internet would say you can't play quarterback like that, but Caleb found a way to get out of it and get a throw off, even if those throws were pretty often all over the place. But we'll see. I mean, a lot of talk about a rookie and we don't know anything. Here we got the Colts in a cover 3 look. Let's see what the Titans want to do with it. Are we? Oh, I don't actually understand this. I want to know. Okay, so Levis looks like he wants the outside release where he's going to fake stick and try to hit the double move up the sidelines. But I'm almost shocked that Levis then resets and looks for the check down. I mean, good for him, going like very literally going touchdown to check down. But there's a great ball right here. I mean, if you just go 1-2 at the very least, I'm surprised Levis isn't seeing that. And I'm not in the quarterback room. I truly don't know how they're coaching it, but that couldn't be more appealing, to just stick the ball on him, let the guy turn up field and pick up a very healthy 8 yards on first down. A good check down is a good check down. It doesn't help that Henry bobbles it, but It's a funny one to see. I don't feel like you see wide early or like wide open like that often. But also, hey, this is good to see. This is part of why I love watching tape, y'all. Uh, it's just because good movement by Levis in the pocket to stay alive against a very good little rush right here, where he pushes out and is able to get a throw off. So who knows? Maybe at least part of it is that by the time that double move had resolved, Levis is just moving away and thinks, I got to get to my check down because he's under pressure. That would make a lot of sense. A lot of guys drop their eyes as soon as you pressure them, but that's the kind of thing that comes up on scouting reports and gets you blitzing more. That's an interesting thought. Ooh, let me know in the chat. I'm very interested. Do you think Flus breaks out the very typical anti-young quarterback game plan of blitz more often than usual, right? Like, normally from what I've seen, young quarterbacks are very hectic in the pocket, especially a young quarterback learning a brand new offense. So a lot of times, all you see these guys do is just heat them up, send more guys, speed up the timer, force them to make a quicker decision, force them to read it pre-snap. The Bears in the preseason certainly seemed like they were trying to weaponize these nickel blitzes and a couple other like double mug up front looks, a whole lot of disguise stuff. Even if by trend the disguise stuff ends up pretty obvious that they're not going to send both linebackers up the A gap eventually. But you tell me, I'm interested because if Flus comes out blitzing, let's say 1 in 3 downs, which is a lot for Flus, that's almost double his standard rate. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears defense starts to cook a little bit. Who knows? Maybe they get burned, but that's where you can lean on your one-on-one matchups that we've already said I liked and potentially make some real hay. Like you're saying, Zoe, I hope the Bears are threatening blitz a lot. They don't have to do it every time, but threaten it. Because against a quarterback like Levis, if he's still doing this, I have not watched every game of tape. We've watched a drive or a drive plus, but I would look at this and say, I would certainly look at some of this tape and at least beg the question on, is Levis going to be comfortable in a lot of these pockets, or the moment he gets moving, does he start moving? Man, what a sick pickup. He's fun anyways. I mean, this is Josh Allen at home kind of stuff, right? Look at that. Come on. I before we analyze the play, getting upfield, get airborne, first down, cheapers. I mean, that is just fun football. No, Blue Poster, you definitely don't want your quarterback doing that. But as a neutral fan, that's fun. Okay, so what do we got? We got, oh man, beautiful played. So looks like this is out corner, or it's in corner. You see this a lot. I'm sure it has a name. I don't know what it is. But so the way they play this with 39 falling off and then this linebacker sitting over the top just gives Levis no real good spot to go with the ball. And so while, yeah, he's running and theoretically even up to this point, he could pop the ball over the top. He doesn't like the combination he gets over here, and that's enough. He's going to take off. This wouldn't surprise me. You see this with a lot of young quarterbacks. I'm thinking Davis Mills. I watched a little bit of Will last year, and he did this. But a lot of quarterbacks either play like Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, where they hold onto the ball forever, for the love of goodness. Or the guys that don't think that they can avoid everybody under the sun, they play fast on purpose. They take one look at the combination, and if they don't like it, they either go to their check down or they try to run the football. And with Will, especially since he can move a little bit, I'm not surprised. The question is whether he's grown beyond that. But yeah, I mean, he'll rip the window. I mean, it looks, from what I've heard about Levis, plus what I've seen on tape, Will would much rather test a window than push to a third read, push to a fourth read, which reminds me a lot of basically a braver Derek Carr. And that could very possibly be pretty dangerous for him, especially if the Bears have defenders in the right place. Like you're saying, New Poster, if Levis pushes a ball over the middle of the field right into the waiting arms of TJ Edwards, those could be real disaster opportunities for the Titans. But Oh, man, is that a catch? Is that not a catch? Holy smokes. Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever going to say that Will Levis has trouble pushing the ball down the field. Oh, man. Good defense by good defense by 39, staying in the play. What an opportunity. This is what I would worry about. Where I think the Bears are going to be tested is these deeper routes. And so can Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson play smart and break these kinds of plays up? Because Levis can certainly test it. And I bet you we're going to see some of this from the Bears. Like, let's not forget, one of the easiest reads in football is, oh, look, it's cover 3. We're running a cover 3 beater. Good. I'm going to stand back here and show off the arm a little bit. That is a much easier mental play and puts a lot on the physical. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears are going to do that. We saw something during the preseason where one of their kickstarters was that deep throw to to Tyler Scott. Looks like it doesn't really matter though, because their center here just gets popped. And he trips 95, and that's going to be a hold. Ball would have come back anyways. Tell y'all what, the Chiefs look good. Those offensive additions work. It's the Ravens. It's week 1. Don't overreact too much. But it feels cohesive to me. And I do like watching Pacheco play football. And I can never get enough of Mahomes. Okay, we're throwing with the right timing here. Good on you, Levis. Looks like we're just running stick. So that's going to be out, and then you run a go down the sideline to try to back off the corner. It's the right read. 77 just gives up too much depth. Oh, that's Skoronski, isn't it? Yeah, it is. That's rookie Skoronski. Granted, against what? DeForest Buckner? Yeah. Yeah, good luck. Would love it if the Bears had one of him. Ooh, don't freeze on me. It's feeling temperamental, huh? Oh, yeah. That's not great. What do you feel like doing for me, Premiere? Nothing fun. Zoe asks, which non-Bears QB film do I enjoy watching the most? Which play caller's offense do I enjoy watching the most? Zoe, am I allowed to give you my honest answer about the play caller that has really inspired me more than any? Do you know who it is? Do you need to guess? I'll tell you, here's 2 hints. It's not Kyle Shanahan, it's not Andy Reid. But in terms of play callers, I like watching the most. It's a very easy answer. I get to watch him twice a year. And every time we watch him, it is so fun and so painful. Because watching Sean McVay or watching Matt LaFleur call plays, I think is special. I mean, I would love to say it's Ben Rock. It's LaFleur. LaFleur's offense since he took over in Green Bay has been phenomenal. Do we remember some of the old streams where we would just cackle about how easy Green Bay made it for themselves in the Rodgers days? And then they handed the keys over to Love. And even in that first week, it was like, and look at the way this is architected. It's all perfect. Even when they were screwing up little things like a rookie would miss an assignment here or this rookie wouldn't win the route, they had all kinds of space to win it with. LaFleur's offense makes sense to me. I would argue that that's the offense that everybody should want to run. But obviously, there's some coaching pieces of it. Which non-Bears QB film do I enjoy watching the most? QB's funny, dude. Just because I think it kind of depends on what you want. Josh Allen, for instance, is a grab bag. You can find almost anything in his tape. Mahomes is looking like he's cheating. uh, which is super fun. I think watching Caleb should be really enjoyable. I love the way Caleb plays football. I also think the precision of the way Matt Stafford throws the ball. I like watching modern Purdy film when we get a chance to watch it. And I thought watching Geno in his Shane Waldron tape was a lot of fun. Guys that are willing to push the ball are so enjoyable to watch. Prescott's tape, especially when he's on, can be really, really enjoyable. But I mean, I'm just naming really good quarterbacks. I keep wanting to enjoy Justin Herbert tape more than I feel like I do. Oh boy. New poster. This is exactly what you were talking about, right? So Levis makes the right call here. I mean, this is a free play. Levis sees it and he just takes a shot downfield, but the ball waves a little and drops early, and so it creates a jump ball. Obviously, it gets tipped. You never love that. Let's see, is that MPF? Okay, Radens is playing tackle. So that's the guard, right? That's where he's going to be. He will be here in on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I don't know this stuff, okay? Ask a quarterback's coach. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of Will Levis's inaccuracy comes from his delivery, which is and he just whips the ball. And so I think you're going to get more variance in the way that you throw that football, especially when you're pushing it deep. Not that I know. That just makes mechanical sense to me that this kind of delivery would basically just rocket the ball. And then from there, where it lands is you're not pushing it with your whole body, you're whipping it with your arm. And trajectory of those arm whips can be a moonball. The moment it is, if the wind catches it, it'll blow it all over the place. And see here, this is exactly this feeds into the accuracy problem. I think this actually does remind me a lot of Jay, where look at this. Can we see his weight? Like his weight is leaning backwards. The moment you start leaning backwards and you whip it with your arm like this, it's so hard to be accurate. The same goes for Caleb. Same goes for anybody. The moment your full body is not into it, it's just harder to control the football. Now that is very toesy. So let's see what they get him with. A stunt. New center. New center. So the Titans are going to be playing a new center on Sunday. Does he have full command of the offensive line at this point? Well, he certainly had command of the Denver one, but we don't know. We'll have to see. So, Adrian, I think that that's a brave thing to say. I mean, I understand saying that or that you don't like Matt Eberflus, but what gives you the feeling that he's the worst defensive mind? I think not addressing the secondary edge position is not great, but I also think that the Bears assaulted the offensive positions left, right, and center. And no, they don't have a second edge, but a lot of teams don't. It's not to say that I don't know, it's not an excuse. The Bears defensive line needs work. We've talked about this a lot. And I hope that they address the secondary edge position at some point in the football game. But are you looking at one secondary edge position and defining a game off of it? Because I think that's a lot to say. And there's a lot more football left to play. Ooh, what just happened here? I don't know. I don't ever want to make it sound like I think the Bears are perfect, because I don't, right? Oh, man. The Bears definitely need a second edge. I think that they could get better at safety long term. I think that they could get better at offensive line, definitely. But I also just can't help but look at the way that the Bears certainly played last year, the talent that's generally across the board, especially their line or their back seven, mostly with their corners and their linebackers. And it's hard for me to not see this as a relatively meaty defense that can play make, especially against poor quarterbacks. Oh, for sure, Zoe. I mean, It's by no, if you're talking about Jalen Johnson versus other corners, I actually think right now Jalen's a little overrated. Playing really good football, but comparing him to some of the other more talented corners in the NFL and saying that he's a top 3, top 5 guy, I think he had a phenomenal season last year, but he's a system corner, and there's nothing wrong with that. Radens gets a little far out there. Let's see, there's nothing creative about his coverages. It's literally bland cover 2. There's nothing creative about it. He's probably the worst defensive mind in the division. There's nothing like a Flores than that. No, for sure. I mean, I think you're talking about a really phenomenal defensive coordinator in Flores. I think that Glenn personally is really uninspiring. He just resorts to as much man as he can get away with the occasional cover 2 or cover 3 call. It's funny you talk about it being bland cover 2 though. At least last year, most of what the Bears got into, especially down the back half of the season, was cover 3 with some variations off of it and a whole lot of man. And I wouldn't surprise me if they continue to do that because Brisker, I don't think, is very good in that half field safety role. They may play a little cover 2 here and there, especially on 3rd and 10s. They really like their cover 2, and that definitely got them hosed. Let's not forget, Adrian, just so that we're both on the same page. First 8 weeks of this, or first 3-4 weeks of the season, the Bears were a historically bad defense that was only superseded by the even worse Denver Broncos defense. So they definitely had their day of being one of the worst defenses in football, for crying out loud. But down the back stretch, I just think it's hard to look at what they did to the Lions, look at what they did to the Browns, look at what they did to, say what you will, the Panthers, the Cardinals, bad teams. I get that. And offenses that were, in many cases, missing a player here and there. But they pounded some of those defenses, or some of those offenses. And I have a hard time saying Eberflus is the worst defensive mind in the game. I just think it's an overreaction. He's got a lot to prove. This is a season where he's got to prove it. But I think it is easy to go too far in the other direction and start saying there's nothing creative about it. It's not going to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When I think they've got enough talent and they play fast enough ball to at least beat the offenses that they're more talented than. I think this offense may be one of them. But we'll see. If they get smoked, especially on defense, then they're in for a long season, man. And like if they give up 24, 27 points to the Titans, then they're going to get scored on a lot and heads may roll at that point. But I can't help but look at least the results that they have. Let's see. At the end of the day, I don't believe in this D-line apart from Montez Sweat, and it's infuriating because I think it'll cost them a win. We'll see, man. I really will. If they play 4 down the whole way, I think that's going to be a tough game for the Bears because Will Levis could end up with a whole bunch of time. But I also think, at least based on the tape that we've watched so far, you've got to find a way to pressure him, even if that means sending somebody. And you talk about how he didn't blitz. I thought that he blitzed a solid amount. Also, I'm with you, new poster. I like Billings, even as a pass rusher, but I'm not expecting any doubters to suddenly start talking about how Billings is phenomenal because we're just not there yet. But I think he's offering more as a pass rusher than most one-tech nose tackles are. And so I wonder what's going to happen in what seems to be an increased role. Is he going to stay on the field on 3rd down? I don't know. But let's see. Maybe 3rd down Billings. We got 3rd down Billings in the preseason. But the moment that they start playing Billings on 3rd downs, he's going to have to come out of the game on 1st and 2nd down a lot more. And then we need to see something from Dexter. Dexter coming through would be huge for this game, just even if it's a pressure or 2. Oh, boy. Oh, new poster. Was this exactly what you were talking about? This looks like it to me. This is one of those balls where it's got to come out sooner. It's got to come out sooner. We just don't catch it. That is a horrible, horrible, dangerous ball. Like, if Caleb throws one of these, I hope I say the same thing. In the NFL, there's nothing that I've seen that's more dangerous than when the quarterback throws it late, and especially when they lose it and push the ball. Because now you've just pushed the ball, and it's live at this point, I think, straight out to the defense, and Levis gets back on it. Like, let alone the Colts should should outright pick it off. But that's a fumble. And Levis goes and gets it. I mean, the dude just drops it. Let's see. Do they get the ball at the? Yeah, they do. They rule it a fumble. That's recovered. That's just a lucky play. Like an alley oop to himself. Exactly right. Play action, screen. Good touch on the screen. And Henry's awesome. I'm right there with you, Adrian. The way that, or what I would say that I don't know. Look, I got to be real with you, Adrian. I don't have it in me to be a doomer, right? So, one thing, if there is one bias that I have, can I be so real with you guys? You've heard me say this before. I cover the Bears, right? So, because I cover the Bears, it means that I'm probably going to take the brightest, realistic thought line possible. Because if I told you guys, look, I just don't believe in Matt Eberflus, I don't think there's any way that they come to this game ready to rock, then at that point, you can kind of write the season off. And worse, you're cheering for Matt Eberflus to prove to Ryan Poles that he's worth firing, which means that you're going to have to reset offensive coordinator because you're probably not going to promote Shane Waldron. It just doesn't really happen. And so then now you're going to reset your defensive coordinator while you bring in another head coach. The new head coach is probably going to want more of his personnel. So you're going to jettison some guys, and it really screws everything up. Like that's unfortunately, the Bears are in position where we need Matt Eberflus to be Sean McDermott. And that's just where we're at. If he's not Sean McDermott, the Bears are in a real spot. And if he is Sean McDermott, then at least the Bears get a Buffalo feel for it. And I'm right there with you at SEO, where I'm not going to try to tell you that I think that the Bears are going to roll over and turn into Todd Bowles, right? When you heard me mention that they might blitz, maybe let's say 32%, or certainly at least just threaten the blitz a lot, right? They did a lot on third down in this preseason with double mugged linebackers. They did enough nickel blitzes to show that they could. I mean, they're looking forward. It's got to be more blitzes, but it's never going to be a ton because that's just not the game they play. They may stunt, they may slant, but the Bears don't blitz like Todd Bowles. They don't run a design blitz defense, and they're not going to. They may run some disguise blitzes. It just needs to be enough to be a threat. And like you're saying, Zoe, I mean, even if you kind of nailed this. Even if Flus is Sean McDermott, there's an element where that may not be enough. And I get it, right? But with so many pieces that are so worth cheering for, I guess I just don't want to look at I would rather use a phrase that I've already used. Matt Eberflus has a lot to prove, right? This is me citing my bias. Matt Eberflus has a lot to prove. And so hopefully he proves that he warrants more faith so that, frankly, we can dream about the Bears potentially achieving something wild. I'll tell you that right now where I sit, it is hard to imagine Matt Eberflus leading these Bears to a Super Bowl unless he proves something different. And I mean, the boys were playing for him. That's the thing I keep going back to, is I keep looking back at games like the Cardinals game, silly as it may be, games like the Cleveland game, games where you saw this Bears defense bring all of the intensity that you could have asked for. More just saying that, holy smokes, Lamar, what a ball. What a ball. Goodness. But so I look at Eberflus, and I hope that he can be the coach that gets the most out of the players, right? Like, to use an example, Zoe, begging the question, right? The Bears might end up in a little bit of a hole. Oh boy, I need to see this game. Zariah says, so even if he needs to be fired, I could see Poles holding off for 2 years. Zoe, I feel like one thing we may look at is a potential problem here where Matt Eberflus might give the Bears more player development than other coaches would, but may end up lacking in scheme one way or another. Dude, I don't know. asking out loud, right? Where I could not tell you that Austin Booker would be playing this kind of football on another roster because the overwhelming majority of fifth round picks don't, right? Maybe the guy's just a star. It's very possible. But at the same time, I can't help but look at Kyler Gordon basically rescuing his career, Brisker finding a role, Tyreek Stevenson playing good football, Jalen Johnson taking a step forward, Javon Dexter looking like he's at least worth starting, which is something. Montez Sweat coming over and immediately making an impact. I know these are all the defensive guys, but at least it feels like when you look at Terrell Smith and when you look at Jack Sanborn and when you look at TJ Edwards, that you're getting what you expected plus a little bit more from most of the Bears defensive players, right? And so if the Bears switch coaches, does the same personnel take a step back because you get the more normal version of them? Maybe. Does that mean that Eberflus is giving you something that is an edge over other coaches? We're gonna have to wait and see, right? Like, so I don't know. But if Matt Eberflus can hold some of these offenses to below expectation, then Caleb Williams may be enough. We'll see. Can I tell you, to use an example, Zarash, let's say Mike McDaniel becomes available because the Dolphins don't get far enough and want a new voice. It's obvious he can elevate an offense. I would take my shot at that. So Zarash, first of all, in theory, it's hard not to get excited about Mike McDaniel, right? Let's see. Alex says OMG. Alex, you're just a little ahead of me. So every time I see your message, I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? Throw. Oh, oh no. Oh goodness. All right. Wow. Oh man. That's one of those brutal first that is one of those absolutely brutal miscommunications where Lamar has to be thinking that he's going to sit down. And I mean, that's pretty common. And so then Zay keeps running. Goodness. No. I actually appreciate it. I might be the only person on earth that actually likes a spoiler, Alex, because when you tell me what to watch for, it helps me make sure I'm not staring at a corner receiver battle when Lamar does something insane. But that's me. It's probably not everybody else. Like when people say, when I get that Brad Biggs tweet that's like Caleb Williams touchdown, I'm like, thank goodness. Let me know. Holy smokes. That is a play. That is a play by Lamar Jackson. Wow. Wow, that is good. Okay. Is he in? I don't think he is. I mean, he looks toe on the line. Ooh. And with Taylor in the house. Ooh, that toe. Gotta go one size shoe down. Gotta go one shoe size down for the rest of your career. Man, that is a sicko play, though. Yep, that's out of bounds. That is tough. Okay. Zariah, thought experiment. Where do you think Sean McDermott has steered the Bills wrong? I have a thought. Like, I'll tell you, I have an opinion on this. Okay. Why have the Bills underperformed? Answer that. Let's have the conversation. And then I'll tell you exactly where I think Matt Eberflus needs to shine. Explicitly. Literally a game of inches. In order to prove his worth. Right? All right. I'm giving you enough time. Not that you've had a ton right now, but just for the sake of it, I'll talk through it. Whenever I've watched these Bills games, what keeps popping to me is that the Bills can't seem to stop anybody. And so when they get to the playoffs and they run up against Patrick Mahomes, et cetera, you end up with Josh Allen pitching a perfect game, at least darn near it. And then On the other side of the ball, Sean McDermott's defense, with a whole bunch of people invested or a whole bunch of resources invested into it, walks out and gives up 28 points in a loss. Right? Lest we forget the miraculous 13-second save Mahomes had. Do anything else? Maybe, just maybe, when they've only got 13 seconds left, stop them instead of letting them walk down the field. And so I'm right there with you, where at least based on what we've seen so far, Zoe, currently offensive minded head coaches keep winning Super Bowls. Like, no doubt there. You and I are both data driven people, right? And so when we look at the data favors offensive minded head coaches. No doubt. No doubt. And I advocated for one this offseason. So we're on the same page, right? But we got what we got. So what does Eberflus need to show us to try to prove us wrong, right? And that, to me, is a defense that plays better than the sum of its parts. The defense needs to come up with big results in big moments, which, look, one of those was a smart way of phrasing things, if you will. The other one is totally just a gut feel. But you need, in big games, for the defense to put the Bears in position in that Week 18 game against the Packers to where the Bears can get one touchdown and 2-point conversion and be tied, which the defense did, let alone score for you basically twice against, oh my goodness, Cleveland, let alone keep the game tight down enough that the Bears are able to establish a 28-3 lead. Look, I get it. Not every game by any stretch of the imagination has been perfect. Sam Howell nearly walked up and down the field against the Bears. So, been there. Not trying to tell you that I think Matt Eberflus is by any means perfect. More to say that, Zoe, in my opinion, this is Matt Eberflus' statement season. Frankly, more so, I think, than Caleb Williams. Where when I'm looking at, we've watched one quarter, and I already feel like I know who Levis is. Like, let's watch some Levis tape. Let's see if he proves us wrong. But I bet you he's erratic. I bet he plays as fast as he can. I bet you he's going to throw his body around. I bet you he can launch the ball to darn near anywhere on the football field. The question is he going to do it accurately? I bet he trusts his arm so much that his form fades on him a lot. And I bet he's pretty quick with his eyes, and they keep concepts pretty simple so that he can run them really fast, right? And so it's less about Sam Howell, MJ, and it's more about saying, to me, this looks like a beatable quarterback. This looks like the kind of quarterback that, the way Matt Eberflus likes to play defense, you should be able to have a good day against him, especially if the Titans aren't running the ball like this. I mean, as I understand it, just in case we don't make it to him or don't make it there, Brian Callahan is the kind of guy that likes his West Coast. He likes to throw the ball to the perimeter. He likes to let his running game get extended by his quarterback, and Levis has a quick enough release that it wouldn't surprise me if he thinks Levis can play West Coast ball, which is it's kind of McVay. I mean, McVay has drifted a little more West Coast, I think, with every given year, but I also but the McVay Shanahan thing is so funny because I hear it and I feel like they're diametrically opposed offenses these days. They're both very play action heavy, but McVay doesn't use near as much under the gun stuff, especially with Stafford, as he does more West Coast stuff. That same idea of blending your run game with your pass game. But like you're saying, Alex, I think the same thing, where if you were going to have an offense, or if you were going to have a quarterback that you want to see match up, man, look at 94 get after it. 94 gets in Redden's kitchen. Okay. He's playing guard. What do I see on this rep? 94 gets underneath the pads and just blows him backwards. There's a guy on the Bears that can do this. His name's Andrew Billings. And so if Andrew Billings is sitting right here, running straight through that left guard, I wonder what happens. I wonder if Dexter can just turn that explosion into some pass rush. Man, any pass rush, to Adrian's point earlier, any pass rush will come through huge in a game like this. And you probably need the Bears offense to at least do a little for you. I mean, the defense can't win the game by themselves, but that much is probably pretty obvious. And when the operation looks clean with Levis, I mean, that's pretty clean. Release is tight. I don't know why he's pushing his left foot out like this. Like, I would think that you'd want to drive the ball forward. But I mean, if you've got the arm, you've got the arm. Spin it. I get that, Zoe. And by no means am I trying to tell you that, I don't know, you have to drink some Kool Aid and call Flus amazing, right? I am looking at Flus as okay, so last year I entered the year thinking, Flus, prove to me your defense works. And for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, all he proved is that I understood defense like I thought I did. Then they added Montez Sweat, and most importantly, I watched the linebackers and the corners start to lock down their business. And slowly but surely, the Bears stole downs back and put the guys in a blender, right? Yeah, no kidding, right, John? But so, man, Blue Dragon wasn't that tough. But so I look at Flus at least right now, and I see a coach where I hope that he can prove to me that player dev. Oh, I mean, Quentin, I've talked about this before. Levis highlights, you'd think the guy rules, but that rule applies all over the place, right? Like, for instance, Q, one of my favorite highlight tapes to watch, believe it or not, because I think this illustrates the point of what it is to be a first round quarterback, is Zach Wilson. Dude, Quentin, Case, everybody. Zach Wilson's highlights are nutty. Like Zach Wilson can throw the dadgum ball, especially from wild arm angles, and he's got strength, it feels like, for days. This tiny little frame is able to move around well enough that he can just push the ball wherever he wants to, it feels like. And it's wild to watch when he does it, but every play that isn't a legit good highlight is a mess. And I bring up Wilson because if there is one thing, Quentin, that I will just say out loud, okay? I think Caleb is going to be fine. I think Caleb works a little too hard. I think Caleb has a little too much experience. I think Caleb has too much of a proven track record of being able to operate his USC air raid, among other things, to where I don't think that Caleb is going to be an abject Zach Wilson disaster. But I do want to see it before I say that for sure, right? Like, let's watch the game. Show us, Caleb, that you can play a little within structure. Because right now, what we saw in the preseason is that Caleb seems to generally understand what the structure looks like, but he didn't seem to have it immediately. Good, that's what the preseason's for. But this is week 1. And there's going to be plenty of mistakes. Week 1 always has them. But do we look like we generally know what we're doing? Or are we going to resort to backyard football every other down? And if we get there, then what? I mean, at least Caleb's backyard football is exceptional. But we've been there before. So how much can we utilize the offense? Khalid, what's going on? So Eberflus, I want to see him win with player dev. I want to see him win with Smart D. And to me, what does Smart D look like? Smart D looks like push the ball towards or force the ball to the middle of the field, or force the ball to the middle of the field and let your linebackers try to take away enough efficiency there that you're able to drag the opposing offense down with you by basically offering them cheese and then taking it away. Adrian, so I hadn't read the article yet, but my understanding was that they said that the Bears are an upstart team that isn't there yet. And I think that that's a more than fair thing to say. So here's my problem, Adrian, right? Just so we're on the same page. It's not that I think you're wrong about the Bears not being there yet. It's that I think the Titans are not in a good spot. Like, when I keep watching this Titans team and taking a look at who they are, they don't feel like a scary team to me. And so if the Bears D-line costs them a win against the Titans, well, then the Colts game's going to be tough. And if the Colts game's tough, well, then it's going to be really tough sledding against the Rams. This is, of course, notwithstanding the Texans. So then, sure, they get a break after that, I think, against Carolina, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't help looking at the Titans as a team that is the NFL benchmark right now. So you got to hope that the Bears are able, I hope, to get over that benchmark. Because if you can't clear that, then you're in for a pretty standard rookie development season. And we can have fun with that. We've had fun with worse, but that's much more dull than something fun and potentially meaningful. Uh, let's see, Zariah, it wasn't many, but that goes better. Like, there's not a lot of rookie. Wait a minute. You say to kill it week one of their rookie year. So Lawrence did as a rookie. I think Trevor Lawrence threw for like 300 yards, and then CJ Stroud threw for 250 yards. A lot of them were hollow yards for what it's worth because the game was out of hand almost immediately. The other question you got to ask yourself is the Bears situation just different from some of those other rookie quarterbacks who played with nearly nothing? Cam Newton was insane. Yeah, I hadn't gone that far back. I was just talking recent memory. Quentin just recently did something like this. The overwhelming majority, Zoe, of week one starting rookies are bad. So Caleb would not be alone if he starts and performs pretty poorly. I'm actually not expecting him to do too much. Like, for instance, we've talked before about how Caleb, if he wants to chase some serious records, probably needs about 235 yards a game. Take the under, if you ask me. Then if Caleb goes over, you can be really excited about it. But realistically, we're probably looking at Levis. What happened? What's he expecting? Oh, this is such a bummer. You got him. Bang. Easy. Throw it to the pylon. We skip it. And why? Like, we're moving right. We've got it. Oh man, that's tough. That's a touchdown. It's a good job by 81. Okay, on to the next play. What do we got down in distance wise? It's second and 10. Okay. Play action. I don't really care. It's funny because so much of this is like not the scheme, right? Where you'll see the occasional solid ball fake, but we're here to watch Levis. Hey, kudos to him. So it looks like they're running. Like, it's as simple as it looks, to be honest with you. It's a seam route, but over here it's a corner route and an out route. So you want to read this corner, see what he does right there, and then you've got an in route so that if the defense overflows this way, then you hit the in. You're not really expecting to, I don't think, ever throw this seam, but Levis looks at this. The Colts sit outside leverage. No, no, and no on this case. No worries, Lisan. I'm actually going to wrap up sooner than y'all probably think because I got to be up early in the morning. Talking like 5:15. And so I got to wrap it up at some point because that's just what I got. But we've done a lot of good conversation, which I like. Even if this stream is sort of a harebrained mess, this is not one probably to show to your friends because it's very, very, Q&A kind of. But Levis tries to fit it. There is no fitting that. That's that. Here's big play action. Oh, Levis, what are we? Okay. We find a completion anyways. Okay. I thought Levis was reading this, and this looked good to be two. But he's taking a look at the backside corner, sees cover 3, likes it, all on the sideline. So Zoe, that's the thing. If I had to guess, so Iceberg says that he thinks Caleb goes 2 touchdowns, 265 yards passing. If that happens, I find it hard to believe that the Bears aren't successful. 265 yards on what is likely going to be another 75 on the ground means about 300 yards of offense. And I understand that 300 yards of offense isn't what it was, but that's a very healthy offensive week. And especially if Iceberg means what he wrote, which is to say no turnovers, then I would tell you that I think that's a very exciting stat line. Realistically, Zoe, I'm expecting Caleb to probably go like 195 through the air with a score and then a turnover. Whether that's an interception or a fumble, I don't know. I think that there's probably 2 sacks in the game, at least, probably 3 or something like that. And I would love for that to not be the case, but this is how rookies are. Most of the time they start, they generally struggle. So then you need a good game, or you need a solid game from your running back to try to turn that into about 17 to 20 points, which can be done. We have seen that in Chicago, where if you're clean, you can get into the end zone twice, once passing, once with a running back, and then hit a field goal or two and try to add up to 17-20. But like you're saying, new poster, Caleb could pop off, or he could just look disastrously bad. One thing that I'm personally, at least so, I don't know, I keep tumbling this around in my head. How many rookies started their offensive install as early as Caleb? Caleb confirmed in an article with Albert Breer. I thought it was common knowledge, but apparently it was not. I thought we all knew without knowing that the Bears were installing the offense for Caleb as early as March. So that's a 2-month head start, which I wonder if that has an impact. I don't know. Caleb gets to work on all the fundies before he comes to rookie camp, and then he already has at least a jump start on the cadence so that he can go into the preseason at least a little more prepared to try to run something slightly more NFL authentic. It's hard to know. It's week 1. It's still too early. Caleb's not going to have a full feel for this, probably, until week 8 or 9. And we knew that going into it because that's the way football has always worked for as long as rookies have been starting, which is part of what makes this projection so difficult. But at the same time, I also can't help but look at, so I don't think Caleb's going to have this amazing game. Would love it if he did. But my hope is that the Bears defense wins their matchup well enough that if the Bears offense can spot them 17 points, that they are able to defend that. The other thing that I can't help thinking, new poster, I feel like you and I are probably aligned on this. The expectation here would be if the Bears have a good day on defense, they're going to take the ball away twice. I couldn't tell you if that's going to be a sack fumble. That's if the Bears can generate a sack, or if it's just going to be 2 picks. But the hope would be that they're able to put Levis in this Tennessee offense kind of in the tank. And if the Titans are going to score, that the Bears can get back about what they give in terms of overall possessions. So then at that point, the hope would be that Caleb has has a few things easy, and doesn't have to do everything the 85-yard hard way, or I guess it's 75 yards now. But no, exactly, John. No, you know what? Now that you mention it, John, I think you nailed it. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. You know what, John? I actually think you're too low. I think Caleb is going to immediately tie the record with 7 passing touchdowns. And he's also going to add 2 rushing touchdowns on top of that. And that's just first half. So during the second half, he could break the record, of course. He'll even point at an open receiver, but then he's going to throw the ball out of bounds out of respect for the rest of the league. And then he will sit himself on the bench and let Tyson do the rest. Exactly, Rock. Where Andrew Billings is going to punch down about 13, 14 sacks. Javon Dexter, of course, is actually going to struggle. He'll only have 5 sacks. And then Montez Sweat, he's actually going to abstain from the game. You're going to see him just stand up straight and hold his hand in the air on most pass rushes because he's going to feel so bad that he's not going to feel as if he can actually contribute. And so people are going to hail it as sportsmanship, and they should, because it's going to be really kind of him. But this is nice. So if there is one thing that I think we can look at with Levis, it's that when you get Levis on this play action game, you're going to need Tremaine Edmonds to drop the way that we've seen him do, because this guy will throw it. I mean, look at that. That's under pressure too. His left tackle is getting popped, and Levis just hits his back foot and rips it right over the top of the jumping linebacker and right underneath. So kudos to Levis. You're not going to scare him into not throwing the ball. So especially from these cover 3 looks, that's going to need to be Jalen or Tyreek Stevenson driving on this ball if they want to take it away, or more than likely, you're going to need Edmonds to get depth. The good news, that's one of the only things Edmonds does really well. Like Edmonds ignoring play action fakes, that is peanut butter and jelly. Now, plenty of times, as we've seen, That leads to Edmonds not getting involved in the run game at all, which has its own problems. But in terms of not buying the play action fake, I don't know. For all I know, maybe he'd freeze too. But that's a nice throw up and down by Will Levis. Whoo. That's some NFL ball. And that's the other thing. I don't want to make it sound like I think Levis is unplayable. I think he's erratic, right? I think Levis is going to give about as much as he takes. So he's going to make some plays. He's going to push the ball into open areas of the field. I don't think, as much as I would love to tell you, that the Bears are going to put Levis so in the tank that he ends up with like 75 yards or 75 yards on 12 completions on 35 attempts. Like, that's just not how the NFL works, especially not these days. But can you hold Levis to 210 or less? That I think is on the table, especially because you look at Levis's counting stats, and he just rarely did that. I mean, he rarely hit the 210-yard mark, I'm trying to say. He had some games where he popped off, especially if defenses let him really throw and extend that arm. But most of the time, down to down, I don't think Levis struggled in more conventional drop back pass game. Yeah, that's my thing, Zoe. I see this as a grindy game. And also, one other thing that I will point out, okay? Because I've talked to a couple of, I've been lucky enough that this has gotten me in the room with the occasional NFL person or NFL tangential person. And one thing that they talked about that we saw last year, you guys know this because you've seen it, is there's really nothing more important to an NFL season than the timing of your first win. 16 teams are going to lose the first game of the season. And the teams that lose the first game of the season are going to go into the second game of the season hoping that they can get that first win in the second one. And then, that's not a given. In the Bears' case, it would be a lot easier to get their first win at home against this Titans team so that you can go into Houston, take what you get. Maybe you win. Maybe you probably don't, right? Then you go to Indianapolis, try to get that next win. You might, but you're away. Then you come back, you host the Rams. If that Rams game, you're 0-3, that's pretty tough. Like when people project a 7-10 season, or when people project a 7-10 season or something like that, that's probably what happens. Is they start 0-3, and if they do, that's tough. Now it's a rookie quarterback, so I guess you never know. But the Bears would have to go on a hell of a run after starting 0-3 to get back to 4-5, 5-4, and then they have a tough back half of the schedule where you pretty much need Caleb to go off, and that starts to become a much tougher prospect the sooner you lose games. I'm going to tell you right now, if you've listened to the Bear With Us podcast, which I sure hope you should. Let me see. Then they have us at like -6. So John, it was -4.5. Now it's -3.5, at least per ESPN. So I'm right there with you, where there's a lot of reason, I believe, to think that the Bears should be favored in this game. Like, I'm trying to say, John. Okay. John DeLaTalia, I think, is getting at something that I believe is hard to talk about, but I'm going to try to talk about it anyways. I've been trying to work through it for the better part of an hour and a half. So forgive me for not being terse, but thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys. Like the stream if you're enjoying it. John, we Bears fans have been here before. Can't it be that simple, John? Where 2019, we were gassed up, rolled into the Packers game, scored 3 points in a loss, 10-3. Shut down Rodgers, smoked the Packers on defense. Wasn't enough. Lost that game. Season flipped on its head. Frankly, 2018. Khalil Mack just got traded for. Mitch Trubisky in his second year. Roll up to the Packers. Rodgers even gets hurt. Not that we would ever dance on an injury, but oh my goodness, they're playing the backup. The backup sucks. He gives the ball away. And you lost. 2020. I literally can't remember. That was the no, I mean, was it the Lions game? That was the Lions game with the insane Mitch comeback where they were done and dusted and buried. And then they figured it out And it took another week before Mitch finally got the hook, and people thought that that was too early. 2021. Oh my goodness. The Bears just get pounded by the Rams. 2022, they beat San Fran, and it's crazy. 2023, we don't need to relive it. But there's a consistent, I believe, theme, if you look at most of these games, of the Bears either get rug pulled by the Packers or Bears fans talk themselves into a win that is incredibly unlikely. And more often than not, they either don't win the game or it's tight. But what I'm really trying to, I guess, get at, right, is, John, I think Bears fans are almost looking for a reason for that this won't work, right? I almost feel like Bears fans right now are looking under the floorboards, and they're checking the closet, and they're taking a look behind the computer monitor, and they're looking outside the window again. Not because I'm going to tell you that this is definitely going to work. Like, look, all the hopium in the world does not change the fact that the Bears are starting a rookie quarterback, and traditionally that is a kiss of death to winning a game. But the Bears have enough of their defensive personnel, etc. Like, I did, TB. I really think I did. Like, what I think really trying to get here is there is a lot. I really do. I believe that there's a lot of stuff when I look at this Titans game where I think we should be feeling fine. We're talking about a quarterback that I don't want to tell you he isn't dangerous here. He's going to go off, right? But a quarterback that is vulnerable. We're talking about a team built by free agency. We're talking about a team that doesn't have a world of homegrown talent sitting on it, and they've got a whole lot of new stuff that they're trying to cobble together. Because I really don't know, actually. For somebody in the chat, do we have a general pulse on how good first-time play callers are in their first game? How good are first-time head coaches in their first game? How good are first-time defensive coordinators in their first game? Asking because the Titans have all kinds of turmoil. Like, the Bears are, weirdly enough, the more stable team of the two, and they're the ones starting a rookie quarterback, which is, not great. So, at least to me, John, I think the most interesting part about this Bears-Titans matchup is that the Bears fans, in feeling the insecurity that comes with not having stable answers at head coach, we don't know yet. At quarterback, we don't know yet. At second pass rusher, frankly, the whole defensive line, because I think somebody's coming, but we don't know yet. And you take that insecurity and you project it on a Titans team whose names you know. Oh no, that's DeAndre Hopkins. Oh no, that's Calvin Ridley. Oh no, that's L'Jarius Sneed, and that's L'Jarius Sneed. Oh no, that's Jeffrey Simmons. Oh no, that's Harold Landry. That's Arden Key. These guys can play some ball. Like, I'm right there with everybody. I get it. And frankly, if this was 2021, this team is freaking deadly. Like, Tony Pollard and DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley all on the same team. Whoo, boy, that team could play some football. You put those with anybody. You put those with Tyson Bagent, and you're going to cook with some grease, but it's 2024. And DeAndre Hopkins is a PED. He's a PED bust and an MCL sprain slower. And Calvin Ridley took a year off the game, and that is never kind to literally anybody. And yeah, Jeffrey Simmons is still really dangerous, but you look across the rest of this team, I'm not telling you they're all old. They're not that old, right? But yeah, exactly, new poster. It's also kind of a requisite NFL defensive line. I mean, if anything, wouldn't we all agree that the Bears' defensive line is pretty weak? The Titans' defensive line is not that sicko. They've got Jeffrey Simmons, but outside of that, it's T'Vondre Sweat. So then from their edges, they've got requisite NFL edges. But man, speaking of, Q, I don't know how you're feeling. I think one of the other matchups that we haven't talked about much, just because, I don't know, it hasn't come up, is Harold Landry versus Braxton Jones and Arden Key, I think, versus, because I don't know where he's going to line up, versus Darnell Wright. If the Bears tackles win, you got one guy to block in the middle. But especially Quentin, just thinking out loud, okay? So, Bears fans, envision this. We're going to use the Titans to make my example, okay? And pretend that the tight ends aren't there. So, if Harold Landry, speed rusher, takes the outside and Braxton Jones gets wide and gets on top of him and eliminates him, Caleb Williams, as a rookie, trying to play some street ball, getting a free access to getting outside the pocket is something that if I was a defensive coordinator, I don't want. I want to fence this kid in. And the good news for Bears fans is that Caleb is not wholly uncomfortable in the pocket. He's, I think, better than most rookies, which is me saying he's not a zero from the pocket because I don't expect anything from most rookies. Did we see Bo Nix's feet during the preseason? Did we see Jaden Daniels just hitting RPO, 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 RPO? That's what I expect from most rookie quarterbacks as a pocket passer. But if Darnell Wright is able to dislodge or Braxton Jones is able to keep that edge, and then these three are able to basically just keep contain a little, then you should be able to get Caleb out on the edges and at least try to win with some chunky street ball. But we'll get there. I mean, you talk about an average amount of time, McFly guy. I think it's going to be more about can you let Caleb into those dynamic spaces where he's able to kind of put the game out of sight and of mind and just play ball. We'll see. But let's see, I'm a little worried about Sweat plus Simmons. Just a lot of mass with fast hands, but I'm not overly concerned with the edges. That's what I'm getting at, Quentin. In my opinion, if you can play 3v1 ball, then, or not 3v1, 3v2 ball, then I don't love, who does, love the matchup of Coleman Shelton one-on-one with Devondre Sweat, but thankfully, that's what you got guards for. And so then you got to have a guard one-on-one against Jeffrey Simmons. That's not going to be great. I don't love the matchup. We've talked about it. But at least if the tackles can win what they got, then who knows? Maybe you do some weird thing where you put a tight end right here and he just goes and sticks Devondre Sweat, and you end up with a guard doubling him and then a center guard double on Jeffrey Simmons. I don't know. I'd think about it though. Like, I'd probably at least add, whether it's Roshan, etc. I'd have my running back just charging straight up into the middle. And yeah, so Bill Belichick did not think that Caleb did anything special in the preseason. And I mean, that's the thing, right? Caleb did some highlight stuff, but he also made some mistakes. So it's going to be, I don't know. What I'll tell you, Zariah, is I am exhausted of the waiting. I'm sick of this. I think we all are, right? There's so much we don't know about what Caleb's going to do, and we just got to wait and see it, right? We got to cut the baloney. We don't need anybody really scoping out the preseason for answers because we don't know the offense. Like, this could sound like excuse-ridden baloney. Like, I could take you through all the snaps of the preseason, and I think that on plenty of the miscues, Caleb had it right, and different parts of the team had it wrong. But it doesn't matter. I don't care about the drops. I don't care about Rome having his foot out of bounds on a touchdown pass, right? I don't care. I don't care for it because it doesn't matter. The Bears were running vanilla preseason looks that I think got more and more obvious about how vanilla they were as they kept running them. And the defenses they were going up against were vanilla preseason defenses against guys that aren't starters. And when you talk to a Bill Belichick who has never particularly liked guys that hang on to the football, yeah, I'm not shocked that I'm really not surprised that Bill Belichick was not a fan of the kid who had a 3.5 second time to throw. Not shocked at all. And when people do freak out, because it's another thing, right? We should make this clear, okay? That throw Caleb had, where he sits in the pocket, spins out, and then throws it downfield, a lot of guys can make that throw. We love to do this thing where we say only one guy makes that throw. Not really. It's the NFL. Will Levis can make that throw. Any guy with an arm can make that throw. Will they all attempt it? That's a separate question. Will they all hit it? Also a separate question. We only saw Caleb attempt it once. He drilled it. So people are going to freak out. But also people want to be excited about Caleb. Like, even all the way down to media people like Robert Mays, Mita Kimes, John Greenberg. Like, you look through all these, and that's the other thing, Iceberg, right? Is there's definitely an element of Bill Belichick wants his guys to get the ball out fast. So that too. But I'm more trying to make the point of I'm exhausted to some degree talking about this, because to me, this game is a game where the Bears have the obvious opportunity to prove something. You want to show that you're a team that's ready to make some noise, potentially make the playoffs. The Titans are the right spot. Um, let's see. Find any plays. Yeah, Spectre. I think they're going to use pretty much all of them. You don't have time in the preseason to practice stuff you won't use. It was just all basic, right? Like, it's a follow me route. It's multiple rollouts. It's stick. It's a sprint out. God, I hope they just don't call the sprint out all that often. I don't like the sprint out either. And then some play action deep shots, right? It wasn't anything especially exceptional. And it certainly wasn't anything designer. But so I can't help, as we get prepped for this game, seeing an opportunity, if that's not clear. I think that there's plenty of people out there that are the Don Burrs of the world. We saw him in his chat earlier, right? Where Don Burr said Bears fans are in for a rude awakening. I mean, maybe it's happened before, but I'll tell you that if the Bears want to take a fun season and supercharge the amount of fun that this season could be, I think that finding a way, it doesn't matter if Caleb turns it over 4 times, if the score shows the Bears in the lead at the end. Like, that's all that matters in this case. And I could sit here and I could break it down, and we've gone through a bunch of stuff, but I'll tell you, it's also funny talking through the Titans, because the Titans are a mystery box. And so, man, look at this, just junking the ball. Are the Titans the team that we think that they could be? Do we even get most of this right? Did Levis take a massive step forward? Is Calvin Ridley another season off of? Is Calvin Ridley, after another full off season, went back up to speed? I mean, is Tyler Boyd just a baller and we never noticed? I guess we'll find out. I like Chig Okonkwo. I think he can play. I think a lot of their guys can definitely play football. The Bears' defensive line needs to be able to stop the run. Plays like this, important. Push Levis into throwdowns. Try to stay out of play action or try to force them out of play action as much as you can. And Rock, that's the thing. I feel like there are a lot of people. Let's see. I think the staff is going to realize they need to lean into the powerful left side of the O-line once they see enough Levis. If you mean the Titan staff, I generally agree with you. But another thing, Quentin, that I want to just throw out there, all right? What's one other thing that we haven't talked about at all? Here, I'll just play the Titans film in the background. Q, I'm going to put you to the test. See if you can read my mind. What is one other thing that happens all over the league in week 1? And only week 1, right? And I'll give you a hint. I think the Bears displayed it last year. Okay? What's that one thing? I'm still looking for it. I want to see it. I bet I can almost hear you thinking. But it's something I learned last year. That's good enough. Quentin says, misjudging their talent. The words that came to my mind, Q, were bad plans, right? The Bears came out last year with the explicit plan to have Fields drop back and throw the football. And everybody got frustrated. And they tried it one more time against Tampa. And it failed cataclysmically. And they scrapped it. And starting in the Chiefs game, they started playing Justin's game. And the offense got better because it was running as the quarterback intended for it to run. But originally, they definitely planned to try to turn Justin into Ohio State Justin Fields. More like week 1, or more like year 1, rookie 1, Justin Fields. The guy who was going to step back into the pocket and rip the ball into seams, into openings with Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, and DJ Moore as a three-headed receiving monster. It just didn't work, Quinn. So what I'm curious about, and I wonder if this helps the Bears, is are the Titans looking at this receiver room as a trip or as a three-headed dragon of weapons? And if they do, does that play right into the Bears' hands where they're going to rock a game plan where they intend to just beat them with basically throwing the ball all over the yard right into what the Bears DBs want? I don't know. We'll see. But it's more to say that you talk about something as simple as, I think they're going to realize they need to lean into the power of the left side of the offensive line. Well, at least for week 1, they may trust the veterans more than we think. Sure, they'll like Latham, but Latham on the point of attack as a rookie, that's a big ask, especially for week 1. Now, they may do it anyways, because the other side of the ball is Montez Sweat, and just why would you run there? But I sit here and wonder if the Bears could end up the positive beneficiary, Quentin, of just a bad offensive plan where they roll in thinking that they got some dogs instead of thinking that they've got to work with what they got, which this happens every week 1, where you end up with all kinds of teams that think that their guys are just better than the guys across from them, only to find out that they're not. So we'll see. But I have trouble not looking at this game getting excited. I mean, it's a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for the Bears to prove something. And it's funny because even as we've watched the Titans find their way to chew down the field, I mean, they've picked up, 16, 17 points at this point? You end up with enough of these throws where it doesn't feel like Levis has any reason. Yes, there's pressure. I don't know. Let me look at the combination downfield. What's he looking for? He definitely pushes to his check down a little late, but he wants one of these out routes, but his dude got stacked. Bang. This dude got mushed. That was 3rd down. Bear down, Zaraj. I gotta go soon. I just had the big yawn. Oh, Lord. 39's excited about this. But man, everybody in the chat, that is dangerous. So this looks like it is. This looks to me like they're playing cover 4. And against cover 4, if you think that you've gotten this guy to run with your man, then yeah, let this thing go. But Levis throws it a little early because of the pressure, and the corner comes back and makes a real nice play on the ball. But you test that window too many times, that could get you burned. Could be a big day. I love Levis's brave approach. I do. For as much as I may try to show off that there's opportunity for this Bears defense, I love the fact that Levis will just throw the dang ball. You're not going to win with a 5-yard out route, at least not in Will Levis's mind. And I can respect that. Hit the back, rip it out. Nothing doing. Goodness, his offensive line's getting torched. I'm not shocked that they're moving Radins. I sure hope Caleb wants it more, Quentin. I'm a big believer in a lot of that coach speak, or the who wants it more thing. I hope Caleb comes out with something to prove. I hope he does not feel like he's earned anything. I'm a massive Caleb Williams stan, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that I think that Caleb is one of the rare people, because there's the occasional moment where in podcasts, et cetera, I'm going to tell you that I feel like I understand the way that an athlete thinks. I do not believe that I have it in me anymore to ever believe that I could achieve the greatness that 8 Super Bowls would imply. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Are you that guy? Are you that girl? Because I'm not. I mean, my hope here is that Caleb is not just a 22-year-old kid that is saying something that he doesn't understand. My hope here is that Caleb is working at the rate that he believes you have to work at to win 8 Super Bowls. And only time will tell if that's true. But in my opinion, if Caleb really wants to start the legend, then this is the week to do it. It's a simple task. Beat the Tennessee Titans. No, don't even necessarily look crazy doing it. Just beat the Tennessee Titans. But if you can do it, the ball gets rolling. There's a lot of give with the fan base, with the media, probably with the team. You get that first win out of the way. You get beat by the Texans. A lot of teams get beat by the Texans, right? Maybe you lose on the road to the Colts. Winning on the road's not hard or not easy, especially as a rookie. Then you lose to Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. Well, he won a Super Bowl. And then you get back on track. That's even if you go 1-3. If you go 2-2, you win one of those football games, now you're feeling good. And that ball is fluttery. It does seem like Levis's arm action creates a little of the inaccuracy because that whip just seems like it makes the ball come out real funky. We'll watch this drive and then we'll go to sleep. Oop. Oop. That's bad. Q, I don't know if you watched him much. Did you watch much Radens? Because I thought he could play decent tackle when he was back at North Dakota State. But he's getting his hands popped. I'm really interested in how much of this will actually get any better at guard. Because with him playing guard right now, I mean, I would expect him to need a real... I don't want to get too excited. But I can't help but look at Radens and see a guy with long arms that doesn't have a ton of power, right? Yeah, he threw the INT, forced a fumble, and recover it. Yes, it's the same game. But Q, I can't help but look at a long-armed guy who seems to be struggling with his anchor and at least speculate that that may be a Dexter or Billings matchup problem. Just because if Radens is playing guard and he doesn't have a ton of power to his game, well, Billings can sure bring the juice. And frankly, Dexter can't against the pass rush. So I guess we'll just wait and see. Did I lose a ball? You need some, Dex. Or you need some, Q. Need it. You have to be able to leverage whatever advantage you can get. Especially if that means pushing Levis off his spot. And then I'm not scared about NPF either. He was somebody who I didn't even think looked all that spectacular at Ohio State. And then he's gotten to the Titans, and he's, well... Q, is it too harsh to say he looks like a third-round tackle? Second-round tackles generally don't look very good. So, NPF looks like a solid player. The kind of guy where you're happy he's playing it all, especially as a swing tackle. But as a starting tackle, I feel like there's just a lot to be desired. Khalid, I thought he did decidedly okay, but only okay. Yeah, that is a zip. How does he get that ball out? Talk about a release. I'll talk about some of the worrying traits of Levis, but oh my goodness, that is a superhero release. I mean, that's just a flick. And then that ball's on a line. Boom. It's inaccurate, but I barely care. Biomechanically, this is a nutty ball. Whoa. There it is, fluttering again. When did they get the yards? I guess it must have been earlier. I'm so excited to break down like an actual game. It's not that any of this Levis stuff is unintriguing. It's mostly that while we learn some things, it's I just can't wait. I'm struggling waiting. We need more games. This one was great. Eagles tomorrow. Hoorah. Do we think the Eagles win? Hope is a separate question. Do you think the Eagles win? Oh, flea flicker, baby. Easy. I think that's a good way to put it, Q. Where when at least watching Radden's right here, I'm seeing a player that is certainly an NFL starter. And that in and of itself, man, that is difficult to be. So massive kudos, massive flowers, because I never, ever, ever want to imply that somehow playing in the NFL is ever something that should be expected. But I'm not seeing a way Radens wins that is truly tangible, right? Like I don't see a plus tool, at least that he's shown us so far. His feet are a little all over the place. He's not particularly strong. He doesn't leverage his length, and his anchor isn't anything to speak of. And so, kind of like Borum, it quickly becomes a matter of time before he's just going to get beat. Smart screen call. Hopefully, Matthew. Oh, is that a snipe? Okay. Good one to end on with Levis. Where we've talked a lot about how we think that that pressure is a kind of thing, or pressure's the sort of pressure's the tool to get a lot of quarterbacks off their game. But with Levis, it's going to get him to throw with his arm. The problem is, hey, he's got an arm. That's a nice slate route. And I mean, let's take a look at D-Hop here. What's he got in the bag? He just, wow. You know, of all things, I didn't expect that they would just switch release like that. Yeah, okay. Kudos on Levis for staying patient and knowing the window. Levis knows what he's doing, especially if he's working one specific receiver. So good on him for keeping the play alive. A nice snappy slant route. I mean, if that was 18, I'd tell you that was a sick throw. I think that's a sick throw. End zone slants are not easy. A lot of quarterbacks that we've seen just won't throw them. Nice spinner to score and put the team back up. I want to tell you I think Levis is awful. I think he's a benchmark. I think he's got some spice to him. I think he's the kind of guy that can hold a job as like a high end of the bottom third kind of starter. Which, look, if that sounds like flowers, yay. But it's quickly becoming, I feel like, a top 12 quarterback league. So you got to be able to get your wins against quarterbacks that are lacking. But who knows? Maybe Levis cleans some things up and comes into this season ready to rock and roll. We're just going to have to wait and see. But let's see. How much am I expecting Dexter to improve from last season? I just saw your tweet, I assume. And sorry for the Twitter crowd. It's much harder for me to read that one. But so I'm expecting him to look much more serviceable in the run game. Pass game wise, I would love to see some refinement. We're just going to have to wait and see to know whether we get any of that. but I'm expecting consistency on a down-to-down basis, especially against especially when he's playing one lane in the run game. But if he's got a gap and a half, I would love to see him look a little better. All right, folks, I have over. I have stayed up too late, but I love talking ball with you guys, and I'm so stoked for this game. This is going to be one of the only pre-games this season that I imagine is going to be a little later than I'd like, where instead of being live right after the game, it's going to be my son's 2-year-old birthday party, so we're going to have to do it a little after that, probably closer to the evening. But maybe that'll give us some time one way or another, whether we're mad, whether we're excited, to settle out a little bit and really think through the game so that we can so that we can go post game it as well as possible. I don't know, we'll see. But what I'm really excited about is that we get a Tuesday stream. Win, lose, or tie, we get to go over some real NFL football and talk about whatever's fun inside Shane Waldron's offense, Caleb Williams' game, the Bears' receiving ability, the Bears' defense, and whatever happens. Hang in there, folks. We get Eagles, Packers tomorrow. We get Texas, Michigan, and a whole Saturday slew of college football on Saturday. And then you wake up and you get a noontime present in the Bears hosting the Tennessee Titans. Like the stream if you haven't. Let your friends know that you like a film reviewer that's going to walk through the game if they end up with any questions the day after. And I will catch you guys soon. Sleep well. Have a good weekend. Bear down. Enjoy football season. Here it is. We made it. Thanks so much.